it would appear. Let's get that chat running. We're going to have a look at we're in the chat. Let's see if anyone's there. And we're up. But there's an advert. That's good. Ads are running today. Let's skip that damn ad. Here we are. Who is watching? Who's watching? Hello. We're going to have a look at a reading task today, which is going to be, obviously I'm going to be focusing mostly on the task. But I will be looking at comments as I do it to see what other people are thinking about it. Let's see, we've got a few people watching now, so I guess we can get started. Probably, that's a good idea. Okay, so bear with me today. We've got a reading task. So I'm going to get organized here. And this is part of the exam that I think, everyone hates, right? Because you've got a lot to read. Look at all this stuff that you've got to read, right? So it's often difficult to navigate through this part of the task, of the exam. But I'm just going to go through it as I would as a student, how I think you should do it. And let's see how we do. Obviously, I want to see your comments. I want to see you trying to do the task with me. Obviously, I'm looking at it here on my laptop, and I think on the laptop, yeah, you can read everything fine. Obviously, it's a bit small, but remember, I'm doing this on my phone, so you can imagine how difficult it is for me to read. But I will try to magnify it a bit so that you can see the questions and the text when you need to. Is everything working? Are we all ready to go? I guess so. So what I'm going to do then is just start how I would start the real exam. I would go straight to the first question here. So this is part 5 of the reading and use of English paper. So I've looked at the title. It's called Why Libraries Matter in Today's Technological World. I'm just going to look at the first question here. I'll make it a bit bigger for you just so that you can see it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to focus on the question, right? I want to focus on the question first of all. Because the question is going to tell me where to get the information and what I'm looking for. And then I'm not going to focus on the answers, right? I want to answer the question organically. I want to answer the question myself, right? I don't want the pressure of being influenced by those tricky multiple choice options there that are trying deliberately to confuse me, right? So I'm going to focus straight away on question 31. It says, what point is the writer making about public libraries in the first paragraph, right? I'm not interested in the options at this point. What point is the writer making about public libraries in the first paragraph? Okay, what is he trying to say about them? What is his main message? Okay, so just going to ignore the questions for now, and I'm going to look at the first paragraph. So what is the point that the writer is trying to make? He says, municipal libraries are perhaps one of the most enduring public institutions. Well, they're an enduring public institution. They've been around for a long time, right? Priceless repositories of history, language, and culture. So he thinks that they're very important for us culturally, historically. They're important for our language, right? There's some sort of, they have this sort of a preservatory role in society. I don't know what it is exactly. The dawn of the information superhighway threatened to make them less relevant and even obsolete, right? Okay, so he's talking about the internet, how the internet is threatening libraries' existence, okay? Yet now, and it seems like now he's getting to his point, yet now these institutions are extending their mission well beyond the storage of knowledge. So he's saying they're changing their role, I guess, in society. No? Indeed, to distinguish themselves in a world where Google is well on its way to digitally scanning most of the books ever written, libraries are learning to avail themselves of the simple fact that they are centrally located in almost every community in the USA. In other words, libraries now see success being linked to their role as public places and destinations. So the role of libraries has changed, I think, is the point, basically. That the dawning of the age of the internet, the advancements of technology have threatened to make libraries obsolete, but that hasn't happened, and that now they have changed their focus. They're now focusing on being a central part of the community, right? A public place, a public destination. So what point was the writer making there? Let's see if I can see the questions. Come back, questions. I'll get them. There they are. So let's see if I can just see them. There we go. Right, so what point is the writer making in the first paragraph? A, B, C, or D? They are struggling to survive in the digital age. He does say that, but is that the point he's trying to make? Not sure. They will have to find a completely new purpose. I don't think he says they need to find a completely new purpose, does he? He's saying that they are now trying to focus on a strong point that they have, right? Which is that they're central to public places, no? That they're central to communities. C, they are taking full advantage of an existing benefit. That sounds pretty good to me. Let's just try and make that a bit bigger again. Where can we see that? It says that Google is scanning all of the books. Libraries, so in the antepenultimate line, libraries are learning to avail themselves, I'll just put myself under where I'm reading, avail themselves of the simple fact that they are centrally located in most. Yeah, that is an existing fact, that they are in the center of most communities, right? They are in the center of cities, of towns, of villages. So I think that is an existing feature that they have, and they are trying to avail themselves of that fact, right? They are trying to advertise themselves, promote themselves in that way with that existing advantage. I think it's definitely C. Let's look at option D. They may well have to give up their function of storing books. It doesn't say that. They still have all of the books. He thinks that they are enduring institutions. They're priceless. They have huge value to us culturally, historically. I don't think he thinks they have to give up storing books. No, not necessarily, not at all, in fact. Though it is true that Google are scanning all of the books, right? But no, he doesn't say they need to stop doing that they need to stop storing books. No. I think we can safely say that the answer is C. They are taking full advantage of an existing benefit. Okay, so we're going to focus on question 32. And again, I'm going to focus on the question. It says, in the second paragraph, the writer's purpose is to what? So what is the writer's purpose in the second paragraph? I'm not going to look at the possible answers. I'm going to focus on the text as much as I can, and then I'll look at the answers. What do I think the writer wants to achieve? What is his purpose? Khan, or somebody says I look like Asa Butterfield. I'll have a look and see who that madman is. Who's Asa Butterfield? If I'll just get distracted for 1 second. I do not look like Asa Butterfield. Maybe a little bit. Okay, right. So we're going to focus on the second paragraph now. What is the purpose that the writer has in this second paragraph? He says, while many US cities and towns now recognize the importance of reinventing public libraries as destinations, this awareness doesn't always translate into a well-rounded success. Okay, so it seems like the institutions, the governments, the councils, whatever, understand the problem and that they know that they have to sort of take advantage of the existing fact, the reality that they're central public institutions, but they can't really compete with the storage of information power that Google has, obviously. It's not always successful. The most high-profile new libraries rely on stylized designs to create buzz, feeding a false perception that public libraries are all about attention-grabbing looks. So they need to draw people in because they want to take advantage of the fact that they are central public locations. They have to redesign the facades a lot of the time. I know if you have a look at the library in Birmingham, in the centre of Birmingham, in the Midlands, in England, England's second city, they have turned it into this monstrous golden eyesore of modernity, and yeah, absolutely. What they are trying to do there is grab the attention, but they're feeding a false perception that public libraries have to be all about that, right? And maybe that's not a good thing. Maybe that's what the writer is trying to say. His purpose here in the second paragraph is to say that this isn't a good idea. I don't know, let's read on. But when the tour bus crowds stop coming, these libraries will sink or swim based on how well they serve the needs of their respective communities, whether they are truly great places or just eye-catching buildings. I think he sees this redesigning of libraries, making them into eye-catching modern buildings, is perhaps not a good idea, and that in the long run it will not help the libraries to survive, right? Something along those lines. Now let's have a look at the options that they give us. So we were thinking about what is the purpose that the writer has in this second paragraph. So in 32, the options are he wants to warn libraries against trusting in new buildings to attract users. That sounds pretty good to me, right? He's warning about when tour buses stop coming, because I'm sure if students go to study in London, absolutely the library is going to draw their attention because it's this big, as I say, bird's nest thing. I'm not a fan, but it certainly catches your eye. If you go to Sheffield, where I'm from, they had this museum of music. Sheffield became the city for music, I think it was. Why they have to do things like that, it makes me sick, but whatever. They have these big kettle pot things, these like teapots. When you get off the train station at Sheffield, the first thing you see are these big steel chrome buildings that look like kettles. They look like teapots or something like that. And of course, people look at that. They're like, oh, I want to see what's in there. And oh, it's a museum about music. I don't like museums. I don't like museums about music, especially. People stopped going, and now it's a concert hall. The O2 Arena in London used to be the Millennium Dome, which is this sort of tribute to modernity, to the 21st century. And of course, people stopped going in there to see these blob-like sculptures and modern art because nobody cares, So yeah, that was a big problem. By the way, if you've got any problems with the vocab that we're looking at here, or you think I'm getting any of the answers wrong, by all means chime in the chat, comment on this if you've got anything that you need me to clarify or anything that you disagree with me about. But yeah, in the second question, in 32, I think he is warning against trusting in new buildings to attract users, because he thinks that that's not a good long-term solution. And Horrible says he recently passed his C2 with 222 points, 230 in reading and listening and use of English. Excellent. I'm glad my videos have helped you. That's great to hear. I love hearing that. Thanks very much for telling me that. That's an excellent score, by the way. Yeah, almost perfect. Brilliant. Okay. So, in what does it say? Let's have a look at the other options, see if it could be any of the others or if we can rule them out. So B says praise libraries which recognize the benefits of tourism. No, he's not doing that. He's saying they can't rely on tour buses to come and, keep them running. No, because at the end of the day, it's what's inside. It's the role that they play within the community with the people who are going to use the libraries habitually. That's the important thing, right? So no, not B. Stress the need for libraries to consult local residents. I don't think he says they need to consult them. I think he's saying that they need to serve a purpose, right? So I don't think he's saying that they need to sit down and speak to the local residents. They just need to realize, what do the local residents want? We need to serve that purpose. D, advise libraries to move to more central locations. No, they already are in central locations. Okay, let's have a look at the third question. Khan's got an interesting question here. It says, do you find C2 tests actually matter in defining someone's language proficiency? Well, what do you mean by language proficiency? Because I get into this argument quite a lot. And by the way, if anyone wants to chime in here on this discussion, by all means do. Obviously, there is no perfect test, right? There is no perfect test. I'm not selling anything here, but obviously a lot of people need to pass these tests in order to get onto university courses, maybe get grants to go and study abroad or whatever. And look, if you can get through the C2 Proficiency exam, if you can pass it, you are very good at English. And yes, it is a way of defining somebody's level of English. It really is. I see other YouTubers, other English teachers on YouTube, other English teachers who do other methods, they're like, oh, we need to do an immersion course. Yeah, well, some people don't have £1,000 a week to go on an immersion course to Edinburgh, and I think it's the same thing with IQ tests. I'm a bit of a psychology fan. I like reading about psychology and watching YouTube videos about psychology. IQ tests, people attack IQ tests and say that doesn't really show your intelligence. I agree that they don't show your overall service to society, but they do show how intelligent you are, IQ tests. In fact, you can give people a list of numbers to memorize, and generally speaking, if it's not something that they have practiced for a long time, the person who can remember the most numbers in a sequence is going to be the most intelligent person in the classroom. It's that simple. English, I mean, come on. They're looking at your ability to read and comprehend what you're reading and paraphrase it. They're looking at your ability to understand things that are in the listening test, understand things that are said in multiple ways, in first, second, or third person, and paraphrased. Specific meanings of specific words. I mean, it's about as proficient a test, as profound a test of somebody's ability in a language that you could think of, I think. Does that mean that you can then go and live in Belfast for 6 months and you will understand every single word somebody says? No, but you'll be better at someone who hasn't got C2 level. But yeah, of course. And Martina says, is it true that the C2 level of English allows you to teach? Or do you need additional certificates in order to do so? Well, it depends, doesn't it? Where are you going to teach? For example, I didn't need any qualifications because I came from Spain, learnt Spanish, started teaching in academies, became, knowledgeable about all of the exams from teaching it over 12 years. And I can teach English because I've got the virtue of being a native teacher. But for example, I employ people not based on their certificates, but based on what I think is their aptitude and experience. So what do you want to do? Teach in a public institution? Because obviously, I mean, if you want to go and teach in a secondary school, well, you need the qualifications that your country stipulates. So I don't know really. Where do you want to teach? I know lots of private institutions are going to take you on, absolutely. If you've got C2 level in English, I would employ a Spanish person with C2 level at the drop of a hat. I'd have absolutely no problem. That means that they know the ins and outs of the language perfectly well. Hello, Nicolas. Anyway, I'm going to move on to the third question now because I have gone off on a bit of a tangent. And it says, which phrase illustrates a very different and more compelling vision of what it means to be a public place? Which phrase illustrates a very different and more compelling vision of what it means to be a public place? Right. It's in lines 14 and 15. So we're going to read the third paragraph, right? Because that's going to be quite important, but we're going to focus on the first couple of lines here, right? So a very different and more compelling vision of what it means to be a public place. I think we can actually look at the options here because let's see what they mean. They may fly under the radar. If something flies under the radar, it goes unnoticed. What's the word? There's a word for that when something goes. Yes, when something is not perceived, when something is not noticed. So could that mean a very different and compelling? No, I don't think it. I don't think it's going to be A. Architectural landmarks. Well, that doesn't mean very different. It doesn't mean compelling. Landmark, I suppose, is something that you see. It's kind of obvious. Community reading room. Well, that is what it is, a community reading room. Community front porch. Now, that does sound very different, doesn't it? Because a front porch is something that you have on your house. It's private property. It's the front part of your house where people normally spend private time. But a community front porch, that's a very different thing. Could be quite compelling. Let's have a read of sentences 14 and 15. It sounds to me like D is going to be the right answer just because it sounds like what they're looking for, really. So it says, we're in the third paragraph here, line 14, 15. You should be able to see that. There are plenty of unsung libraries that embody a very different and more compelling vision of what it means to be a public place. Right. They may fly under the radar as architectural landmarks. Right. So that isn't the point, right? They are not architectural landmarks necessarily. They don't draw attention by turning themselves into a chrome-covered bird's nest. They fly under the radar as landmarks, but they still garner respect, praise, and even adoration on the account of their innovative management and programming. Oh, right, I see. So the options, yeah, okay, right, yeah. So the answer could be in line 19 or 20, yeah, because it's not there, is it? Right, I see. Okay. They are taking on a larger civic role, balancing their traditional needs and operations with outreach to the wider community, thereby contributing to the creation of a physical commons that benefits the public as a whole. If the traditional model of the library was the inward-focused community reading room, right? So that was the traditional idea, but this is the new idea. The current one is more like a community front porch. Yeah, okay, so it's changed. It's now a more compelling vision, right? It's a more compelling, a different and compelling vision for what libraries could be. They're not this place where you go and sit down and read. as well. All the community can go and sit down and read, but a place of social gathering, a place to socialize. I don't know if this is true at all, but yeah, I think clearly of the options. Oh my Lord. Yes, of the options we have in the third question here, yeah, it's going to be D, right? It's become a community front porch. This is a very different and it's a more compelling vision of what it means to be a public place, right? Okay, so we're going to focus on the fourth question. I'm going to have a look at a couple of questions. Khan says, rich vocabulary, great comprehension, and good use of complex grammar are great, but I care more about emotional attachment to language. It's like cursing in your mother tongue always hits harder. I like the point you're making. Yeah, I understand what you're saying. Yes, there are lots of layers to everything. Everything is nuance in the world, isn't it? There is no absolutes. There are no absolute correct answers. Nicholas is asking if I save my streams. So will this go up as a video? Yes, it will. Yeah, immediately after I finish the live stream, you can then look over it again. So don't worry about that. If you were worried. And yeah, I know what Khan is saying. I know there is more to things. There is emotional attachments. There is personality. There's the way you gesticulate. There's all these kinds of things. But the world has to be. You have to be reductionist in everything at some point. You have to have a physical way of measuring how good someone is, right? And Camila says, "Good day. Good day to you." Hello, good morning. How are you? All right, 34. Let's look at this. It says in 34. See if you can see that. Can't really see the whole question, can we? Hang on. Let me scoot over there a little bit. Oh, it disappears when I do that. Why, Samsung? Who wants this feature on their phone? It's just like, I like it when I expand it a bit for everything to disappear. Anyway, 34. What is the writer emphasizing in the first bracketed comment in the fourth paragraph? So in the fourth paragraph, there is this is more than one. Okay, so we're on the fourth paragraph. I'm going to move that up to the top. Can you expand it a bit? And here we are in the fourth paragraph. Okay, that's at the top of the screen now. Okay, and yes, there's a couple of bracketed comments in that paragraph. There's a couple of parts of the paragraph that are in brackets. What is being emphasized in the first bracketed comment, right? I'm not going to look at the answers. Let's go. But what of universities and other academic institutions? What is the value of an academic library in an age of abundant information? A recent report commissioned by the Online Computer Library Centre, focusing on college students, found that they use libraries more than any other demographic. Students use them more than any other demographic, right? Any other demographic group. That they like to help themselves to information, that they are aware of the library's electronic resources, and that they identify libraries with books in the comment, but they don't seem to feel that that's a bad thing, unlike the so-called experts who authored the report, who reveal deep dismay at the finding. Right, so just before I read on, I think what is the writer trying to emphasize with that comment in brackets there, right? I think it's specific to that last point that was made. They identify libraries with books. Of course you identify libraries with books. It's natural. When you think of a library, describe a library to an alien. It's a place where there's loads of books, right? But the students who are asked in the survey say that's fine. I haven't got a problem with identifying a library with books. That's natural. They don't feel that that's a bad thing, unlike the so-called experts who authored the report, who feel dismayed. They reveal deep dismay at the finding. So the experts that did the survey were saying, oh, this is a real problem, right? This is a real problem because people, shock horror, identify libraries, they associate libraries with books. We don't want that. We're trying to rebrand libraries. Yeah, I think this is clearly very what the writer is trying to emphasize in that comment is that perhaps the authors of the study are a bit misguided. They're unnecessarily worried about something that the consumers of the product, which is the library, are not worried about. I'm going to just look at the answers now. Let's have a look at the possible answers for number 34. It says, what is the writer emphasizing in the first bracketed comment? Right. Her contempt. Oh, it's a woman writing. I didn't know that. So her contempt for the reaction of the report writers. I think she does have a bit of contempt for their reaction, right? She's like, they're idiots, you know. The people who go to libraries all the time, students, are the people who are consuming it, right? And they obviously associate libraries with books, and they don't think that's a problem, but you do. Why do you think it's a problem? I think she does have contempt for the reaction of the report writers. Her concern for the outdated attitudes of the students, she's not concerned. For some reason, the authors of the reports are concerned, but she's not. She thinks it's fine. Her doubt about the range of library users that were questioned. No, she does say that overwhelmingly it's students, right, who go there. But I don't think she's doubting who was questioned for the survey, right? So I don't think it's that. And D, her distrust regarding the motives of those commissioning the report. I don't think she's questioning their motives. She's questioning their conclusions, right? So I think in 34, it's definitely A. Hey, we've got another comment from Khan here. He says, tests could make you really self-conscious about your level, constantly comparing with others. That takes away the naturalness, I guess. Okay. Which is a really important factor when speaking a language. I think, and this is what I think, right? Personal opinion, I think people are not precise enough and they're not concise enough when they're speaking. And I think we should all strive to write more, read more, and organize our thoughts in a more clear and concise way. Because at the moment, Elon Musk hasn't put the chip in our brain where we no longer have to speak and we can communicate exactly what we're thinking at all moments, and there will never be another moment's confusion in our lives, which will be dystopian, but looks like that's what could happen, right? At the moment, we've got to rely on expressing ourselves. And yeah, you can be as natural as you like. You can be as like, well, whatever. But, you know, not everyone's an extreme extrovert who just wants to get on with people, right? Some people have important things that they want to get across to others. Especially if you're in an academic field. I mean, you really need to know how to express yourself accurately, concisely, and precisely. You know, it really depends on what we're talking about here. Do you mean to make friends? Sure. Maybe C2 is not important. But I think it's an academic test. And for people going into academia, it's a pretty good test. So there you go. 35. Why does the writer quote the poet Robert Frost's definition of home? Okay, so we're going to read in the following paragraph a quote from Robert Frost. Why does the writer quote him? So there's a definition of what home is. Why does the writer do this? So we'll go up to the paragraph where we should be. So it says, for college students, the library is like the poet Robert Frost's idea of home. The place where, when you have to go there, they have to take you in. They may not want to be there. They may not have any real curiosity about the topic that they are researching, but the library is a gateway to the sources they need. And for at least some students, the librarians are saviors who help them take an assignment and locate sources that will match. So why does he quote Robert Frost there? It's a woman who's writing this. Why does she quote Robert Frost? I guess to illustrate, well, I don't know, I guess to illustrate what relationship students have with libraries. It's like, it might not be their favorite place in the world, but it's a place that is there and they rely on it, and if they need it, they're going to go there. And if they go, even if they don't want to, they, there's an obligation of on the other part to take them in and to help them, and it's something to fall back on. But why does she quote that? I need to look at the options here. I can't really imagine what the possible answers are going to be. So 35. Why does she quote Robert Frost? Okay. A, to underline the literary value of a library's resources. I don't think so. No, the quote is saying what Robert Frost thinks about what home is, the definition of home, the place where if you go, they have to take you in. It's comparing the relationship that people will have to their home to the relationship college students have to a library, with a library. B, to describe the function an academic library is required to fulfill. Yeah, they have to take you in. They have to help you, right? They're there, and that's the role that they have to fulfill. That sounds pretty good to me. Let's have a look at C. To suggest the paternal role taken by some college librarians. I don't think they take on a paternal role. They don't behave like, I don't think the students are going in there saying, Daddy, I don't think that's the point. No. D, to express the sense of comfort libraries used to give their readers, that they used to give their readers in the past, that it was a sense of comfort. No, it's this sense of obligation that if you go there, they have to take you in. If the students go there, the librarian has to save them, has to help them with their assignment, right? I think it's B, clearly, to describe the function an academic library is required to fulfill, I think. And Anna Bergara says, thanks for sharing so much information. I'm doing my best. Thanks for watching. And we've got another expert comment from Khan. But expert scientists, people with vast knowledge, don't take C2 tests in their own language. I think we could be as precise as we want, provided enough immersion. Other words, enough input. I don't agree. I really don't agree. I know lots of English people who are really lacking this skill. You must know people in your own language. If you want to be a university professor, or, well, a good university professor, let's say, and you're not precise, and you can do it in a foreign language. Take a look. Here's a good idea. Take a look at, there's a few interviews with Carl Jung, the psychoanalyst. Have a look at him speaking English. The precision, he's got a German accent, obviously. He's German, right? Not Swiss. Is he Swiss, maybe? He might be Swiss. I'm sorry if I got that wrong. He is so precise, so concise, and he was a wonderful communicator. And, well, he blew people's minds with his ideas, of course. He changed the world. If that's not what you're looking to do, great. Absolutely. There are introverted scientists who in their own language never develop the skills required to properly communicate what they're doing, right? Sure. But do you want to be unstoppable in English? Do you want to go right to the top? What's your ambition? Again, we go back to what is your target? What are you trying to achieve? C2 can certainly open a lot of doors for you and is certainly a good way of measuring as objectively as possible your ability in the language, right? But there you go. I'll leave it at that. Martina says you should do a Q&A. I'm open to it. We'll finish this activity. We're on the last question, and if anyone's got any questions, by all means, fire away. What time is it? It's 12:20. I've got a bit of time. So final question. It says, in comparing libraries and the internet, the writer is urging libraries to concentrate on doing what they do. But I'm not reading the options. In comparing libraries and the internet, the writer what? What is the writer doing in comparing libraries and the internet? So I think we're going to be looking at the final paragraph. And let's just go for it here. Of course, these days, any distinction between library and digital information is obsolete. There's no comparison to be made anymore. It's not necessary. It's silly. But there is a valid distinction between printed book and the web, as there is between library and home computer. I think she's saying at this point, I would say she's saying that they both have separate roles. They're separate, right? They're not competing for the same ground, right? Anymore. And the fact is, there are things that the web cannot offer, which any library can. So it can offer things that the internet can't. In a library, it's the totality of the experience that matters. The website, the face-to-face services, the catalog, the collection. You get all of these things in a library. Staff are on hand to ensure the user's reaction to the library is positive and productive, especially the novice user. You've got people there to help you. It can be more, you can become more involved, I guess. Moreover, a library creates relationships. It develops in users a sense of belonging, both to the library community, whether local or academic, and to the wider world of knowledge. In this and other respects, the billions of web pages in existence do not carry the same symbolic weight as the library. Well, absolutely. You see people who say they can't study if they're not in the library. The library does give them that environment that they need to maximize their revision or their cramming more often than not. It stands for the importance of knowledge, for access, for the idea that pursuing questions is a valuable human endeavor. It certainly is. We would do well not to dismiss the symbolism, that symbolism, as mere nostalgia. Yes, never dismiss symbolism and tradition. And oh Lord, I've lost the answers again. That wonderful feature of Android here. Okay, so the sixth question here, it says, in comparing libraries to the internet, the writer is urging libraries to concentrate on doing what they do best. I don't think she's speaking to the library. She's speaking to the reader. She's saying that they should... She's not saying they should do anything. She's saying what they do. It's a statement of fact. It's the role that they play. I don't think it's A. Suggests there is no essential difference between them. No, they're vastly different. So it's not B. You can't make a comparison. The comparison is obsolete. They're so different, right? C, is making the case for the existence of libraries as a separate entity. Yeah, that sounds like the best option to me. C, right? She's saying they're different. It's not the same. There's way more information on the internet, of course, but you're not going to be forced to look for it in your bedroom the same way as you are in the internet, in the library. It's a whole different experience, right? I think it's C. Let's have a look at D. Appears to regard libraries as an unnecessary luxury. Absolutely not. This is a defense of the library, if anything. So no, it's definitely C. I wonder how well all of you did. Hey, if you've got any questions, go for them. I'm ready. I've got another comment here from Khan. He says, it's all about goals, but why strive? Hang on, I'll make my face a bit bigger, shall I? We finished the exam task. Why not? Why the hell not? Maybe it's all about goals, but why strive for C2 in a foreign language when you're a mess in your own language? It doesn't make sense. Some people don't care about their L1, but are working hard to improve L2. Yeah, that may be true, but again, I mean, you know, you could argue this about anything. Why are you trying to do anything? You know, and that's a supposition there. You know, we're supposing what? That people who can get C2 in English are going to be bad at their own language. I doubt that. You're going to be quite competent academically if you're getting if you're preparing C2 and you're understanding it and getting a high percentage in most of the activities that you're doing. It's very unlikely that you're not highly competent in your own language, you know. So I don't know about that. There are individual differences, of course, but you know, I very much doubt that. I don't know. Anyway, has anyone got any more questions? Anything that they want to talk about before I go? Because I'm pretty much running out of things to say today. I've enjoyed making the video. I thought I wasn't going to enjoy it so much. Yesterday we were looking at the objective proficiency, and that was, for me, a bit of a mess. People seemed to enjoy it. There were hundreds of comments. It was fantastic. You know, the chat was very much alive, but it was a bit stressful for me. I enjoyed making today's video, I have to say. Maybe reading is better to do readings live, and then we can see what people are having trouble with. Martina says, I just realized that if you go live tomorrow, I won't be there because I'll be taking the exam, and that makes me sad. Yeah, well, I wouldn't worry too much about that. Worry about your exam, or don't worry. I'm sure you're going to be fine. Most of the time when you're answering my questions, you get the right answer, so it looks like you'll do well. Khan says, good day to you. Yeah, thanks for the comments, by the way, Khan. I like people giving opinions. You express yourself very well, by the way. You're pretty concise the way you were explaining yourself. And hopefully I defended the C2 exam as eloquently as I'm capable of. In what order would you do the exercise of the reading and use of English? Look, everybody has theories about this. I do it in order. 1, 2, 3, 4 in order. You know, I do all 7 parts in the order that I see them. That doesn't mean that you're not going to. I mean, what are you doing? Are you doing computer based or are you doing it on paper based? But basically, I keep an eye on the time. Absolutely, you must realize that parts 1, 2, 3, and 4 are, you know, part 1, 2, and 3. You shouldn't be taking more than sort of what, a minute per question is a lot, really. I see it like this, that part 1, 2, 3, and 4 should be finished in half an hour, right? I would say half an hour, something like that. I mean, I'm just gonna check. What is it? I forget. I always forget because I know I make most of my videos about proficiency, but I forget the times. Is it 1.5 hours for the reading and use of English? I'll just check this. It's 1 hour 30, no? Let's just check. 90 minutes for part 1, yeah, for the reading and use of English, right? So, you know, I say half an hour for parts 1 to 4, and then you've got a whole hour for parts 5, 6, and 7, which are the ones that are more time consuming, you know. At most 45 minutes for parts 1, 2, 3, and 4, I would say, you know. But yeah, so keep an eye on the time, but yeah, just do it in order, really. I don't see the need to do it in a different order. Obviously, if there's a thing that you're struggling with and you're losing time, well, move on, yeah, and then you can come back to it. That can happen in part 4, of course, with the keyword transformations where there's lots of different options. Maybe you'll want to do that quickly, get on to the next part, because parts 4 and 5 and 6 are all 2 points per question, right? So those parts carry weight, absolutely. But, you know, I think, yeah, do the exam in order. If there's something that's taking too much time, move on. And that's it. Okay, so good luck to Martina, and well, good luck to everyone, whatever you're doing, whatever your goals are today. I think it looks like this is dying off now that I've finished the exam. People are disconnecting, so I think I'm going to do the same thing. I had fun again today, and hopefully see you all in the next one. Thank you to you, Martina. Thanks for all your comments and for watching all my videos. I'll see you another time. I'll speak to you all another time. See you in the next one.